So, what martial art is the best for MMA? Okay, so firstly, who am I, right? So, I'm a 17-year-old blue belt who's probably trained for about 1.5 years, but I've probably made more progress than anyone I've ever met. I've competed at multiple national level competitions in Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, and I'm also looking to step into MMA and kickboxing as well after. So today I'm going to discuss which martial art is the best in my opinion. Okay, and obviously, yeah, as you can see, there's a picture of me here, but obviously there might be a bit of a bias because okay, I've started off with grappling, but this is my honest opinion. Okay, so firstly, what are your goals? Is it going to be MMA or self-defense? So whatever your goal is, right? You okay? So first thing we need to do, find your goals. You're either going to be an MMA focused guy, or you're going to kind of be just be like you're going to be training MMA just for the sake of okay, cool. I don't really want to get bullied. I want to like stand up for myself. Like for example, those are like the two ways you can go down, or kind of you can do both as well. Okay, so either do you want to get into the sport professionally, you want to make money off the sport, you want this as a career, or do you want it to be more of like a self-defense thing? It's just kind of like a hobby, but you want to be able to defend yourself, right? So you're going to firstly figure that out. But I'd say, you know what? Even if your goal is either MMA or self-defense, I feel like the training principles are still the same, right? And this is what I'm going to cover in the next slide. So, I think before everything, I think focus on building the base before even training a martial art, right? So say if you have like a long period of martial arts, you're going to be training consistently for maybe like a year or something. I'd say 3 months before even starting any like MMA or anything. I think firstly build your base, like build the athleticism, build the endurance, power, strength, mobility, all of that. 3 months before you even do your before you even do your first session. Obviously, you can start here, for example, when you're in your strength and conditioning phase, but you can only train like I should think you should only train 1 to 2 times a week, right? During this phase where you're going to be focused on strength and conditioning, right? So, what I'd say, firstly, before even starting MMA, build your strength and conditioning. Trust me, you will have so much of an advantage over someone who's just done MMA just for this whole time and maybe they're lifting like once a week. But I feel like if you have a whole strength conditioning block where you're just training, you're lifting weights, you're doing cardio, you're doing all of these exercises, right? So then I feel like focusing on strength conditioning before you even start MMA is probably the way to go, right? But I don't think it should be like a bodybuilder. So here's my opinion: learn grappling first before even after you build the physique. Okay, so after you build the physique, that's when you should building the physique and like all the athleticism, right? I think after that do grappling. So say if I've went through my 3 month strength conditioning period, right? After that, I'd say focus on grappling because thing is, Ilya Taporia, right? He mentioned that there sh- there should like you should learn grappling before you learn striking because striking is like the easy part of MMA in my personal opinion, right? I think grappling, if you can start learning grappling first, I feel like that would be better for you because grappling is like the hard part of MMA and everything. Even if you're training for self-defense, I feel like grappling is genuinely the first thing you should learn because that's the complex bit. That's the hard part, right? You're learning from the ground up. You should do the hardest thing first, and then you can start learning the easier stuff like the striking and everything. You can do striking first, obviously. Like there are people who train striking first and then they switch to grappling, but I feel like they always struggle with learning the grappling because the grappling's really fucking complex, right? But yeah, before even doing the grappling, train your strength and conditioning. Trust me, you're less likely to get injured. You're less likely to you're more likely to have a strength advantage over your opponents, endurance advantage, mobility advantage. Just focus on the strength and conditioning first. Okay, this is the most important bit. Firstly, after that, you can focus on the grappling, and then you can learn striking, and then you can learn to combine all of it together. Okay, so for grappling, that would like for example, that would be wrestling or BJJ, right? And then striking, that could be like boxing, kickboxing, Muay Thai, whatever. Muay Thai, and then MMA. The MMA period is like where you're trying to put it all together. Okay, so say if this is like the order you're gonna learn things in, right? So as I do 3 months of strength conditioning, you could do about 6 months of grappling, three three to 6 months of striking, and then you could have I don't know how long, however long you want to just focus on MMA, right? But I think so. This could be literally a year's worth of progress, or a year and a half, right? But I think the person you are here, right, you'll be you will be so much different once you get to this level here. Like, imagine the difference between you here, who's never trained or anything before, compared to you here. Like, imagine the amount of confidence that your physique will improve. You will be more confident just because you can fight, you can do all of these things. So, obviously, I feel like this is the best order you could learn anything in, right? Even if you're getting into MMA, or even if you just want to train for self-defense, I feel like this is the best way you could learn you go through your whole MMA career. Just strength and conditioning, grappling, striking, MMA. And then after that, you could start work. Okay, after this, you could start thinking, okay, maybe if I want to fight or anything. Okay, but for now, just focus on this. Like, you don't even need to fight in the first year you train, right? So for the S&C period, right? So I said there was a 3-month strength and conditioning period. What you're trying to do is you're trying to build hypertrophy to build strength to build power. So I'd say say if this was like the 3-month phase, right? I'd say cut it into half. So actually maybe even 2/3, right? So 2 months it should be hypertrophy. You should just be focused on hypertrophy, and then 1 month you should just be focused on strength. And then also once you get into your grappling seasons, you can also be more focused on strength and power. But you know what? I think honestly, just to make it simple, just make this whole hypertrophy phase just focused on the hypertrophy. Or this whole strength conditioning phase, make it all focused on hypertrophy. You're just trying to build muscle like a bodybuilder, and just try and build muscle. Right, that's all your goal is. You're not trying to build strength, you're just trying to build muscle. So don't do any like low rep bench press deadlifts or anything like that. All your goal is to build muscle. So work in obviously like a 10 to 15 rep range, like, or an 8 to 15 rep range. Just work in this rep range. Don't go any lower than 8 reps on an exercise. So that, like, the weight should be light enough that you could do more than 8 reps, and preferably up to 15, right? And train compound lifts as well, so you're training like your vertical push, horizontal pull, vertical pull, legs, you're doing squats, you're doing all of this, you're just trying to build muscle, okay? And then once you start getting into your like MMA phase and everything, you can start working on strength, and then which later could be power. But I think I'd say don't focus on power now, especially if you're like a beginner, right? Focus on building muscle, and then with that muscle you'll have more potential strength that you can reach, and with that potential strength you have more potential power that you can reach. This is how you like develop that knockout power that many people want, right? So I'd say the order really would be, okay, so I will train hypertrophy to build strength to build power, and the hypertrophy bit, just have it as its own separate period before even doing any grappling or anything, right? Now, obviously, you could still train a bit of, MMA during your hypertrophy, your S&C season. So, like, before you even start properly doing MMA, I'd say train like 4 days a week of just lifting, and then the rest of the sessions you could have like 2 sessions of, like MMA or stuff, just so you can learn the basics, right? But yeah, that's all I just really want to cover today. So, what martial art is the best to learn? I'd say all of them are the best. But I think grappling is firstly the king, right? And how you improve your grappling is through strength and conditioning and all of that, right? So improving your MMA, firstly start with your strength and conditioning, and then you can start working your other things. But anyways, yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.